Welcome to this Maths Made Easy video on the quadratic formula. And to start with here, let's just take a general quadratic. Let's say we have ax squared plus bx plus c. So we have ax squared plus bx plus c here, and this is equal to 0. Well, the solutions to this quadratic here can be simply given by the quadratic formula. So for the quadratic formula here, if we just denote this, quadratic formula can be simply denoted as x equals here minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. And this is all divided by 2 times a, so 2a here. It's important to note when using the quadratic formula we do obtain two solutions. We obtain the plus solution here and we obtain the minus solution. So if we write that in full here, x is equal to minus b plus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. We also obtain x equals minus b minus the square root here of b squared minus 4ac. And this is all over 2a again. And that concludes everything we need to know here regarding the quadratic formula. The discriminant here is a special part of the quadratic formula. We can write the discriminant as either a capital D or using the Greek letter here to represent that, delta. And the discriminant is simply the part underneath the square root of the quadratic formula. So the discriminant here is expressed as b squared minus 4ac. And the discriminant can either be positive, it can be equal to 0, or it can even be negative. And each one of these tells us something important about our quadratic. So, if b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, what this tells us is that we have two real roots. And we can see that using this graph here. As b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, we have two real roots, and these roots here are where it crosses the x-axis. So because it cuts through twice here, at this coordinate here, and this coordinate here, that means we have two real roots. So that's when b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0. So what about when b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0? What happens here? Well, in that case, we just say the graph touches the x-axis. And we say we have one real root or one equal / repeated root. Okay? And like we can see here, it just touches the x-axis at this point here. So that's when b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0. And then finally, what about when b squared minus 4ac is less than 0? Well, in that case, if it's less than 0, we say we have no real roots. As we can see, the graph doesn't cross or touch the x-axis here. Okay. Now the reason we say no real roots is because we can actually find something called complex roots. However, for A-level maths, this isn't something we need to be concerned about. Okay, but we do need to be careful with that with the language, so we say there is no real roots there. And that covers everything we need to know for the discriminant, and that concludes this Maths Made Easy video on the quadratic formula.